In addition to academic engagement, it is critical that we think of the social emotional well-being of our students. Luckily, as far as lesson design for online learning is concerned, there is an outlined place to start. We are including a link to this document that outlines the 3 signature practices that we can include in our synchronous learning sessions. These are a welcoming inclusion, engagement strategies and brain breaks, and an optimistic closure. Let's look at this lesson that I have built into a slide deck to see where we might add the 3 signature practices for social and emotional learning. And not all of our lessons or our synchronous sessions are built into a slide deck, but this is a nice way of looking at what parts of the lesson we might consider to have these 3 practices. So I'm going to kind of take a look at the beginning of my lesson, slide 4. This lesson is about sports teams, and so slide 4 offers a check-in question. What is your favorite sport or game to play? Do you have a favorite sports team? And I think it's a really lovely idea, depending on the size of your group and the amount of time that you have, to be able to use your synchronous video session to talk about this and to let students share if they would like to share on camera. But you can also have them type into the chat. I also have here an optional sharing document. So I've been sticking these in with my lessons where students can use this Google Doc just to put their answers and their names so that we kind of have captured all of their thinking in one document. But you can also use a Padlet or another digital tool that you like for your students to share. And then as we move down the lesson, we have embedded engagement strategies and routines and the way that we ask questions. But we also have time for a brain break. And on the slide above, I have listed some ideas for brain breaks. And this lesson is actually like a 3-day lesson. So I would include these in different parts of the lesson. And or I might just be kind of feeling how my students are doing. Are they getting antsy? And just scroll up to this slide and take a little brain break. And then down at the end of the lesson, we have what we call an optimistic closure. And I've kept these fairly simple because they're low risk right now as you're getting to know your students. This one is just, what is something you learned from doing this activity today that may help you in the future? But you can ask questions that may be forward-thinking questions for where you're going to go in your next lessons, or less questions about what they just experienced in doing this activity with you. We want to make sure in our lesson design that we are not forgetting our tried and true practices, even our classroom practices of engaging our students through things like a lesson hook, or for us older, more seasoned teachers, an anticipatory set, where we spark their interest in some way. Bear with me for a moment while we look at this quick math question. I wish we had time for multiple grade levels and all content area. But just as an example, let's say we provide our students with this math question. First of all, I'm literally yawning while I look at the question and how it is worded. But perhaps we use an anticipatory set or a hook to engage our students.
Excuse me, sir, what are you doing? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I want to buy 8 hot dogs and 8 hot dog buns to go with them. But no one sells 8 hot dog buns. They only sell 12 hot dog buns. So I end up paying for 4 buns I don't need. So I am removing the superfluous buns. Because I'm not paying for one more thing I don't need. George Banks is saying no.
Thanks to George Banks, the father of the bride, this problem doesn't seem so bad anymore. Once we have posed the challenge to our students, and I won't go too deep into this lesson for lack of time, but I do want to show a way that we can make student thinking visible so that we may use their work to connect in our math and language routines that we use in our classroom. One of my favorite ways to get students to share their work is to build a slide deck for each lesson, where you build the first slide and put the question on the slide, and any parts, maybe you want to put an organizer for your task work, or questions that students might have or that they might need while they're doing their work. And then if you just duplicate that slide all the way down, and each student, or you could even do partners, can take that slide. So we have partners here, we can add another name, and work on that slide. They can work directly onto the slide, or they can work on pencil and paper and then import a photo of their work into the slide. And we can certainly show you how to teach them how to do that as well. But once they do that, you have an entire slide deck of student work, so that you can go in through the slide deck and purposefully choose student work that you would like to highlight, and also work that you would like to compare and connect to each other, so that you can deepen student thinking and sense making. And look here, I've grabbed from my slide deck 3 examples of student work that I feel would be good examples of work to connect together, where we can ask questions to engage our students and elicit math discourse, like what do the numbers 8 and 12 represent? Or perhaps I want to ask them, this student drew these models. Where are these models reflected in this example? And where are those models reflected in this example? And have the students start making connections. And some of these routines are in a document that is provided for you in the links from our engagement slideshow. And then if you look here, look what's exposed. This student uncovered the least common multiple, the objective of our lesson. It's almost as if I paid them to help me move the lesson forward. Some final thoughts. No matter the subject or the grade level, students appreciate agency. So consider opportunities for them to use menus, choice boards, and learning experiences that take into account their personal interests. No matter what, engagement isn't easy, and given our current situation, it's even more challenging than ever before. But we want to make sure we're doing our part to get our students talking and connecting, making their thinking visible, and offering ways that they can collaborate with each other.